You know, it's truly amazing when a show or a movie actually follows the source material. Going into 2026, I think the last thing I expected was a small Game of Thrones spin-off show to probably be one of the greatest seasons of any TV I've ever watched in my entire life. Hey everyone, welcome to the Duggan Media. In this video, I'll be sharing my thoughts on Season 1 of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, or A Knight of the Nine Kingdoms. Who knows how many kingdoms there truly are, because I can see arguments for all of it. And honestly, I'd love to talk about it in the comment section with you guys below. Speaking of the title of this show, it's really long. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. I mean, even with House of the Dragon, like I hear a lot of cast members and other people say House Dragon or something like that. And Game of Thrones is so easy. Game of Thrones. But A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is kind of hard. I wish they kind of just went with a Hedge Knight. I think it would have been a little easier. Now, if you're looking for me to rate this show, I won't be rating it. I only believe in rating a TV series when it's completely done. So I'll just be sharing my thoughts with some spoilers. Unlike my movie reviews where I try to keep it absolutely no spoilers at all, this one will contain some spoilers. Not a lot, but some. Now, I'll be completely transparent with you guys. I've been very disappointed with the recent Game of Thrones shows. I think a lot of us have been. I even disliked the past 3 to 4 seasons of Game of Thrones, though the season 5 and 6 did have very high highs, in my opinion. Now, House of Dragon, I did have hope because it seemed like the producer, he had actual material to go off. They weren't just making it up. And also, he had a close relationship with J.R.R. Martin, so I was like, this show could be good. To be honest, after season 1, I was like, I don't like a lot of changes they're doing with the characters. Like when it comes to characters' beliefs, attitudes, missions, goals, overall motives, and honestly, the casting. The casting, changing characters, casting it's frustrating for me, at least. I didn't like it. I can see why other people like it, but for me, it's not my kind of thing, and I generally dislike that in all casting, whether they're show, movie. I try to be very realistic. If I was making stuff, I'd always make it very realistic. Though saying all that, I still really enjoyed season 1. Like, there were issues I had, but I'm like, this show has hope. Like, I am excited for season 2 because they're setting everything up. Well, okay, now I'm just talking about House of Dragon. Trust me, we'll get to the Hedge Knight, or A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, or A Knight of the Nine Kingdoms, jeez. But season 2 of House of Dragon just took everything that was bad with season 1 and just took it up a notch. More like 1,000 notches. It was pure off. It ruined Game of Thrones. Worse than season 8 and 9, in my opinion, or 7 and 8. Don't know. So obviously, I was pretty scared for this show, a spin-off, a show that, you know, was a small scale thing. I was worried they were going to make it a really big thing and ruin casting, ruin characters' motives, make everyone try to favor one character but end up making that character miserable and none of us liking it. And so every other character that we want to cheer for is just like awful at the same time. I was worried for that. I was like, this is not going to be a good show. I thought that. And also hearing that HBO wasn't really giving the budget that the showrunners wanted and giving the support it needed, that made me worried that HBO was like, this is lost cause. Game of Thrones isn't anymore. It's not our moneymaker. We can't rely on people that we give this show to anymore. But I gotta say, this is probably the best show I've ever seen that is a small scale story. It's pure cinema. And when I mean small scale, I mean comparing it to like Game of Thrones and House of Dragon. Like Game of Thrones and House of Dragon are huge political Shakespearean dramas in a way. They're very out there. Everything matters in this universe. But Hedge Knight, yes, a prince did die, but in the day princes died all the time. Honorable men died all the time. But this was a small scale thing. Like it will later on be very important for the history of Game of Thrones, like this universe, the history of the Seven Kingdoms, but it's still small scale. Like right now, people don't know how big this is. This is just a Hedge Knight defending his honor, defending the weak, and lying about being a knight potentially, and getting a squire who is of royal blood. Like end of the day is, this season is just another day in the Seven Kingdoms, in my opinion. Like I know the Trial of Seven is the first event in 100 years or something like that, but at the end of the day, excluding that, this is just another day for Westeros. People, I gotta say, for such a small show that only had 6 episodes and very small length episodes, every episode and every shot was just very important. It reminded me of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul in the sense of every scene, every word is important and it connects everything together. And that's just amazing writing, amazing planning, and you have a story to tell and you're going for it. You know what you're doing before you even get to it. Which House of the Dragon and later seasons of Game of Thrones definitely struggled with. The writing, honestly, is the best writing I've seen out of this entire IP. That's my, IP. Like, you can tell purely on the way Duncan talks and with his Irish accent that he's a poor guy. He is a hedge knight. He has nothing. And then when you shoot to like Egg or his father and his brothers, and then also of the other princes and other important people, they talk differently. They have a more British accent. They are rich. You can just tell with the way they talk with each other, interact. And I really like that because in Game of Thrones and House of Dragon, we only really stick with the important houses, the people who are up there. So now we're in the mud with the peasants, right? He is a peasant at the end of the day that became a knight. So we get to see how he talks with, interacts with other people, and I feel like it's just a totally different thing, and I really love it, and I think the writing really backed that up. And also the acting from the Sir Duncan the Tall's actor. It's clear that the showrunners knew their audience, the script, plot, details, and all the other things that make this work. They didn't dumb it down like House of Dragon or Game of Thrones did in its later season. They knew this audience are diehard fans, or they are people who are just passionate about a good story. So they didn't dumb it down. One thing I think is very important for all scriptwriters, directors, anyone who's making a movie or a TV series is you have to remember the audience is always smarter than you give them credit. And I think Ira Parker, the showrunner, he knew that, and he wrote something for smart people because people are a lot smarter than, Hollywood gives them credit. One thing that I think this show does really well, also in such a small scale and just staying in one part of this Seven Kingdoms, is the world feels lived in. And I think this show does it in multiple different ways that are very different from Game of Thrones and The House of Dragon, and honestly arguably better than The House of Dragon. Like, Game of Thrones did feel very lived in, but they had to show it in a different scale, like war, huge political drama going on. The House of Dragon, it just didn't feel lived in. It just felt like two families fighting at certain parts. But this, you felt like you knew they connected with everyone. They didn't explain everyone because not everyone explains who they are when they meet them. And they showed it in countless ways that this world is huge, lived in, and there's thousands and thousands of people in this world, or hundreds of thousands. I gotta say, the costume, acting, and set design is on point in this show. Say what you want of Game of Thrones and House of Dragon, but I always felt like the casting, for the most part, acting, for the most part, was pretty good, but the costume design was always top notch. And I feel like this show took it up another level. And also, the Trial of the Seven, it was amazing to see realistic fighting, armor that was actually useful, and guys fighting in a way where it's like, you have a weakness in your armor here, so I'm going to attack you there. Or, I know I had to stab you and not slash you when you're wearing a certain type of armor because slashing you will not do anything, but poking you will do something. And later seasons of Game of Thrones, you saw unrealistic fights with guys who were wearing full armor. And also, House of Dragon was just kind of all over the place with certain fight scenes. I honestly felt every moment of this show, whether that be a sad moment, an epic moment, a jaw-dropping moment, it was amazing. They really build up suspense in the show. And the Trial of the Seven was amazing. Arguably, probably the greatest medieval fantasy fight I've seen. Between like one-on-one people, not battle-wise. I'd still say that's probably Lord of the Rings when it comes to battles. But this one-on-one gritty fighting with the sound design, everything about it was just amazing. Pure cinema. Though I wish we could have seen more POVs during this trial because they're already adding to this show because it's such a small book, and so they added a lot of scenes. I wish they would have added more of the trial with other aspects, maybe seeing some characters die, and maybe even showing us scenes of the characters who did die, building up so we would care more, because at the end of the day, the only person we did care for who died was the prince, and I felt like that was just a little frustrating, but I know he was the main character, he would have been a good prince, and I know they want us to connect to him, and he was also important in the book, unlike the other two characters. Honestly, the showrunners knew who Sir Duncan the Tall was, and just seeing him be written and act, it was like they knew this character. They liked him, but they know he had flaws. Like, they didn't make him a menace fighting, because he's honestly not that good of a fighter in the books. It's just his pure strength and his raising up in Flea Bottom of King's Landing. He knows how to fight. He just might be good with a sword. So it was realistic in the way he'd win, realistic with the book. But honestly, they just knew him on, I think, every level possible. It's honestly great to see a good person in this universe win and have a happy ending for at least this season, because this series, this IP, has just been the good people dying or losing or becoming evil in some kind of way that's unrealistic or another. And it's just so nice to see a good man take on a good kid to stop him from becoming an evil person and just taking on the universe together and becoming good and helping the small folk, small lords, and going around and serving the realm like a knight is supposed to. You can also see the consequences on Duncan for him potentially lying about it being a knight, or even just hitting a prince, a person that he thought was noble and was supposed to be a good person, ended up being a piece of crap. And you can see that weight of him on taking on the trial, knighting the Fossaway, and also having Prince Baelor take his side, because he felt that guilt. He felt he took the realm from potentially the greatest king ever. He feels guilty of that because he's lying about something. You know it, you can tell. And I think that's amazing acting and amazing writing, because they don't outright tell you he was never knighted, but they are hinting at it, but hinting at it in very realistic ways. It's amazing to see at the start of this show, he doesn't feel worthy to be around other great knights and princes of the realm and high lords. He doesn't feel worthy to be in their presence. But then in the show, he realizes these people are not as great as I thought they would. They have flaws. Maybe they're good people who have done something wrong, or maybe they're just bad people who have some good things about them, or they're just pure evil. And he realizes that for him to be a good knight, he should just stick to what he knows, which is Sir Arlen, his teachings, going around and serving the people, and he should live a life that an honorable knight should be, not like these other men. Like you see at the end of the show, he's not scared to talk to these people anymore. He's not scared to talk to Prince Maekor and say, Duncan, I'm happy to take him as my squire, but he needs to live a life like a hedge knight like I did, and be a good person. Like, he even insults Prince Maekor by saying, when have your two other sons ever had a bad night's sleep or salted beef? I think that was amazing, and the first episode of the season, he would never say that. Or was it the second episode he talked to him? The second episode that he first met Prince Maekor, he would never have said that. He would have so awkward and say, I hope your sons don't die, or aren't found dead. He honestly knows Sir Arlen wasn't perfect, but he was a good knight in his opinion. And so he's trying to be that for Egg and be a great father figure or older brother to Egg. And I'm really excited to see their relationship grow in the next coming seasons, because their relationship and their chemistry is just top notch. Something we're really lacking in this IP. Honestly, this show is amazing and I can talk all day about it. But I want to make this video still reasonably length, so I won't go into every detail. But please leave the comments below. I'm happy to have conversations about any aspect of the show, because it purely was amazing. Now, I know I mentioned Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul earlier, and I know the beef is pretty strong right now, but I'm just going to give my opinion on this. Does the Trial of 7 episode deserve a 10 out of 10? No, in my opinion. Like I said earlier, I don't really believe in rating seasons, and that is especially true with episodes. I only believe in rating a series when it's completely done, because that's the story, and you should only rate it when the story is over. But everyone has their different opinions, they rate stuff, and that's fine. If we're talking about this episode, does it deserve 10 out of 10? No, not at all in my opinion. A very high score. Trust me. But there's two things I have an issue with. One is the flashback scene. Like, I know, some people say it's like, oh, it's not Duncan's his POV and everything like that. And I don't like that argument. It's like, we're out of his POV, because we are. It's always through Duncan. It's Duncan's no matter what. I just don't like the placement of it and the length. I think it should have been at the beginning, like maybe right when he froze up, right before he started charging at the other side. And also the length was just too long. It was very meaningful and very important to the episode and understanding Duncan's past and Sir Arlen's past, and how they came together, and how Sir Arlen is actually a good person. A little crazy, but he is a good man. And we also get to figure out Duncan's type when it comes to women, so there's that. However, at the end of the day, these are really short episodes, and that just took up a little too long. Another thing I disliked about the episode was it was just purely in Duncan's POV when it came to the fight scene. I don't mind that, I like that, but I wish we could have gotten a little more glimpses of other people fighting, like Sir Harding and Beesbury dying in the fight would have been very interesting. I know we see like one of them die and another one dead on the floor, and we see aspects of where Prince Baelor is killed and Prince Maekor is the one hitting him, and the Fossaway getting his cousin. I like that, but I wish we just got more of it. Maybe take a little breath out of Duncan's fight and just show us other aspects. However, the way the episode was filmed is if you rewatch it a million times, you're going to catch something new every time. So I still appreciate that. It's a very high score, but that's the reason why I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10. Now, I know not everyone would agree with me, and that's completely fine, but that's just my opinion. I do have to say the hatred between Game of Thrones fans and Breaking Bad fans is hilarious, and I say that as a person who's fans of both the IPs. I love Breaking Bad. It's probably one of my favorite shows. Currently watching Better Call Saul. Still getting through it, but I still really like it. And Game of Thrones is, amazing. House of Dragon. But I still like both series, and I'm not the type of guy to vote down on a Game of Thrones episode to stop it to be a 10 out of 10 Breaking Bad episode. It's all funny and hilarious. I have my opinions, and that's why I'm making a YouTube channel, so I can talk about my opinions. I honestly want to make a ranking of a Game of Thrones nights through House of Dragon, Game of Thrones, and A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is too long. I'm just going to start calling it Hedge Knight because it's just so much easier. We've met so many great knights throughout this IP, and I gotta say, probably the top 5 knights that we've met so far have all been in this show, and they'll probably be in my top 5 if I make a ranking video, which I honestly might because you guys seem to love them, and I love ranking stuff when it comes to movies or series. Now, I've been praising this show this whole time, and I will continue praising this show, but there are 2 things I don't really like about this show. One is the runtime. The episodes are just too short. Yes, I know the book is about 100 pages, but you're already adding so much to this show. Like, the entire last episode was pretty much all new, and it was amazing. Ira Parker knows what he's doing. The writers know what they're doing. The showrunners know what they're doing. They understand George R.R. Martin's world and universe and characters. So just add a little more. Come on, I want more. I felt like every time the show got going, it ended. And I like the argument, like, you gotta end on a high. You don't want to overstay your welcome, and I completely agree with that. But there comes a point, like, come on, add a little bit more. The second thing, and I know after doing this, reading some other reviews and watching other people's videos, it's up in the air for people, but for me, I dislike it. It's honestly the ending. Not the ending, where Prince Maekor is like, where's my son, where's Egg, ah! Like, it doesn't really fit. Like, I know it fits with the tone of, like, this being a dark humor, joking, silly kind of thing. It's not trying to be this big, serious, political, Shakespearean drama that is Game of Thrones and a House of Dragon, though there are moments like that in the show. It's just doesn't fit. I felt like it made more sense to see Prince Maekor see his son almost slime his other son, which I honestly don't blame him, and him being like, Duncan gives him this offer, and he's like, he's my last son, I can't screw this up. And then maybe there would have been another moment with Maekor with Aegon, and maybe he's just looking at Egg just do some things, and Maekor's like, Duncan's offer is probably the right thing. I could be a good father and allow him to do this. And he personally goes up to Duncan and says all the things that he wants from Duncan. That would have been more realistic. But what we got with Maekor is, he's my last son. I love him. I can't screw this up. So when you say that he would send dozens of knights to chase Prince Egg and Sir Duncan the Tall to get him back, to get Egg back, like, that would make more sense. And maybe that is what they're going to try to do with season 2. Instead of, with all these adventures that they're doing in the second book, maybe they're adding that to the plot. Which can work. I don't know. I just feel like I don't mind changes, especially, I don't mind that at all, as long as it stays to the source material, especially if something that I'm really passionate about, which this show, this IP is. But honestly, I just still feel like it doesn't fit with this change. That's my opinion. I've seen other people who I really respect like that change. So, each their own. A little bit more about the tone. I like the tone. It very much works for this show. I was very worried at first, like, oh, he's sitting, like, oh, it's got the epic Game of Thrones music. Oh, it cuts to him sitting behind a tree and pooping. And with noises, like, I wasn't sure about that at first. But then it won me over, and it definitely sets it apart from House of Dragon and Game of Thrones. Honestly, making fun of House of Dragon and Game of Thrones because they have been screwed up, for sure. I think that's maybe Ira Parker's like, guys, we're going to be loyal to this IP. And it's very good. I think it fits. So the tone won me over. It's very different from Game of Thrones and House of Dragon. So if you're looking for a little different tone from those shows, definitely check this out. Again, I don't want to make a super long video because I can talk all day about this. But please leave comments, guys. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on the show, where the show is going, your thoughts on House of Dragon, because I can talk all day about how House of Dragon sucks. And honestly, I wouldn't mind taking a video of how they butchered every character. Obviously not loyal to the book because, I'll be honest, I haven't read the book, watched many videos, and I've read parts of the book, but I haven't read the whole thing. But how they killed the characters within the show, how they make no sense within the show. Not connecting them to the book, but they don't make sense in the show. Like, it doesn't, like, I wouldn't mind making that. Like my Welcome to Derry, I'll leave a rating on where this show is going for, though I'm not giving this season a rating. I'm saying where this series is off to and where it could potentially go to, and if they keep doing everything right, it'll go higher than this. And honestly, it's a 9 for me. I think this show has potentially hit a 10, though they have to be careful, in my opinion. So, what do you guys think of a Knight of 7 Kingdoms, or a Knight of the 9 Kingdoms, or a Hedge Knight? Comment down below your thoughts. Thanks again for watching. Please subscribe and leave a like. Goodbye, y'all.